Star Trek Strange New Worlds Episode 3 of Season 2. Standalone, if there ever was a standalone. That is just some classic Trek stuff. That's what the show has been from the get-go. And there's been certain episodes where I'm like, yeah, this is kind of like an overarching story. This one in particular, it feels a lot like Episode 8 of the first season, where M'Benga was like, I'm reading a storybook to my daughter, and now I am the storybook. That's what this one feels like. Not in terms of tone, but just, we're not doing anything extravagant. Leon's going to go on a journey of self-discovery and protect baby Hitler. That's what we're doing this time around. And it's great because that is a key fundamental thing that Trek has done more so than any other genre piece or any other big budgeted TV show, really, is just give us a story of complexity. Last week, we had a really interesting morally gray area dealing with the eugenics stuff and augmented people. I saw some conversation on Twitter about it, that it could be a good metaphor for trans people seeking medication to make themselves feel better and be happy with who they are, and a society that doesn't like that. I didn't pick up on that in the last episode, but hearing people say that, I believe it. I think that is exactly the tone they were going for. And now this one, what if we walked around the streets of Toronto for about 80 minutes? And I'm here for it. Look, that is what Trek does. From the very get-go of Trek, the very first thing Trek ever did, they just went, what if we just lived like in modern times? We're set in the future, but what if we just went to modern times to save money on sets and stuff? I'm not saying this is them saving money on sets, but must be a little easy to film in Toronto just for an episode of two actors that clearly want to be there. It's cool. And it's really fun. And it was just kind of interesting to see like modern Trek do modern Canada. I live in Canada, and you just see there's a Tim Hortons cup for a minute. I'm like, that's very specific. The money looks so fake when like they're using it in a show. Our money's weird, but you actually just see them use it, and it's very bizarre. And then like poutine is referenced, Canada stuff. It's fun. I do like it. This is a Leon episode. Last week, she kind of got brought up in terms of everything that Una Chin Riley was going through. Just the augmentation. There's some history of the eugenics stuff, of course, because she's a Noonien Singh. This episode is about her coming out of her shell and finding someone she connects to and accepting her, not even fate, but like her heritage of who she is supposedly supposed to become against who she wants to be. That's pretty cool. It does kind of feel weird that like the entire supporting cast is maybe in two scenes. M'Benga gets a scene at the beginning. Spock gets two scenes. Pike and Riley show up at the end of the episode. Anson Mount so far very absent for most of the season. Don't know why that is. It's fine. I feel like he'll get at least one big episode and we'll all be okay with it. But this is Leon's episode. She's kind of feeling distant after the events of the previous one. She doesn't know what to do, and then suddenly some guy shows up on the Enterprise and's like, I was shot with a real gun in the past. I need you to deal with this situation. You have to get to the bridge and deal with it. So he dies, and she's given like this weird device that can take her where she wants to go. When he says you have to get to the bridge, she thinks, oh, the bridge of the ship. So she runs to the bridge of the Enterprise, and because of the events of this time-traveling mysterious man, things are different on the ship of the Enterprise, and it's no longer Pike in charge, it's Kirk, because once again, getting the special guest star billing, Paul Wesley shows up as James T. Kirk. I talked about him last season. I was very mixed on his performance, I will say. He had a lot of like the head bobs and like chin movements of like a young Jim Carrey, which I thought was a little too much that he was doing. I didn't hate it. I think he's a little like tall, if that makes sense. He's got like a more like lanky build, and I just picture Kirk as always more like stocky, just a little more like an aggressive guy, But he's the commander of the ship, and it's not part of Starfleet anymore. It's the United Earth Agency or something like that. And the entire history has changed. So this episode kind of becomes like, we're going to go on a solo mission with Leon and this time-displaced Kirk to figure out what's the events that change time, where in the present timeline, Earth was destroyed for Kirk, so he never got to visit Earth, and why is Leon back here to save it? It's Star Trek. It's easy. We have our opening on the bridge. We just get sent to Toronto, and now we have to go deal with stuff in Toronto. And it's fun, okay? This show, more than any other, just knows how to use digital cameras, and I can't explain it. But even just like there's so many other shows on television right now that are filmed in Toronto, they just don't look as good with their digital cameras as this show does. It knows how to use color better. It knows how to use focus and depth of field better. I'm just genuinely impressed with every single aspect of this show. And it's goofy because in the timeline Kirk's from, he's never been to Earth, so he's like, wow, the cars are weird here. Wow, a revolving door. Money's strange, isn't it? It's great. They have to steal clothes. It's funny. They have to eat, but they don't have any money. So Kirk hustles some guy in some chess. And it's a fun moment. We have like a little montage where Kirk just hustles a couple of older men into giving them our silly looking Canadian dollars. And then they buy some hot dogs, and Leon's like, this is stupid. We have to be solving the thing. And from Kirk's perspective, it's like, you're a strange lady that told me my reality isn't real, so if I help you solve this, I'm probably going to cease to exist. And why would he want to do that? Why would he want to be a part of that in any capacity? But he goes along with it, and they just have a great time. It happens fast. A lot of this happens fast because it's an 80-minute episode, so the chemistry has to be developed instantaneously, and you have to buy the connection longing for them. Luckily for us as the audience, we are aware of the character of James T. Kirk. We know he's a little bit of a romantic and has his heart set out for a bunch of different people. So we can buy instantly that a woman who is uncomfortable around others and has a hard time connecting could potentially draw a connection with him just because that's his character. They're inverse in a lot of ways. Kirk is very outgoing and can talk to anybody. Leon's very closed off. They bring out the best in each other. And it's silly and fun and a little on the nose, but it works, you know? They stay in a hotel with like the couple dollars that they own. And they're just like a moment like, oh, are they gonna do something? They gonna do something there? No, they're not? Okay, we'll just move on and figure out the plot. Gets a little crazy, a bridge blows up, and we're like, oh, why did that happen? Which was it happens in both their timelines, so that's not the event that changes things. The event that changes things kind of comes to us in the form of this reporter named Sarah, who we think is a reporter, and she's investigating like these alien sightings, trying to look like a crazy person in the 21st century. As the story progresses, we learn that she is secretly, let's just jump around, it doesn't matter. She's actually a Romulan, and she's trying to change the history of events to make it a timeline where her people aren't constantly at war with the Federation and all that stuff. In order to do that, she has to come back to this timeline and kill Khan Noonien Singh, a young boy. So it becomes the play of a Romulan wants to come kill baby Hitler before he's going to do the stuff that leads to a desolate planet, and their people won't be at war. So it's kind of like preventive war tactics in place. What is right to kill an innocent before they do the harm? And what is like, why does Earth constantly propel itself into these states of darkness? All of those are explored here in the form of a goofy Kirk just trying to walk through a revolving door. And it's the perfect blend of the balance of the two, which is something the show does better than any other. It balances its characters and its world so well, with the weird themes and the weird tones and the weird undercurrents of it all. It's fantastic. If humanity gets together too well, if we get too close, then we might actually make it to the stars, and we might actually make a federation, and the Romulans aren't going to like that. So throughout history, it's implied that Romulans have been stopping the wheels of progress through a bunch of different things, including the Kennedy assassination, which they mention in here. And there's a couple other ones. It's the Great Depression. There's a couple other things they mention where it's like people and moments in history that can bring humanity together. They're destroyed so they don't progress to where they need to be, which is kind of why they mentioned one, so it's no longer like 1992, like the important events are happening. It's moved up 30 years because now the Romulan has been waiting here for that long for the events to take place. So she wants to kill Khan, which will inspire Kirk's timeline to take place, where it's a desolate planet, and then the other one won't take shape. That's awesome. That's like time travel stuff I could get behind, and it's fun. And they have to deal with that threat. Are they going to deal with it? Of course they are. She's going to save her lineage and protect this child who's going to go on to destroy a bunch of stuff. Leon has a great line where it's like, I am a Noonien Singh. That name comes with like genocide, eugenics, destructive natures and stuff like that, and me. Like, I am also the legacy of Khan Noonien Singh, and I am not one of his maniacal creations. And it's a really beautiful moment. But before that, even before we get to that big reveal, we have a couple of important things happen. Leon opens up about how hard it is to get to know people and trust people. They meet Carol Kane Palea. She shows up for a bit like, I'm not an engineer yet, but I am goofy and crazy, so I guess I know a thing or two about where we could have a big bomb. But more than that, they've known each other for a couple of days, but we get a Leon and Kirk kiss, and Leon likes this guy. What a dumb, silly boy that she likes. And it's good chemistry, and we're here for it, and it's working, and then he dies. Yep, Kirk dies in this episode. Special guest star, remember? He's not staying forever, which works well. They've been using Kirk so sparingly that I'm on board with the things they've done with him. We know he's an important character. We know the name. He doesn't have to appear in every episode. But he dies to protect Leon, and then she defeats the evil Romulan and protects her lineage of the Noonien Singhs, and then she gets them back to her time. Everything is working proper for her, but she now has this connection that she cannot talk about with anybody, and has this experience she can talk with anybody. And then, like, the TVA shows up for a minute, and they're like, you did good. That was one of our agents that showed up at the beginning of the episode to tell you about this event. You saved it, you did fine, but you can't tell anybody, and you can never bring it up again, and just stop thinking about it together. Okay, goodbye. And then they leave, and she's like, I just saved this timeline. I can't tell anybody about it. I watched the only person I've ever got close to die, and I now know, like, the darker heritage of my lineage. And you're like, oh yeah, that is pretty traumatizing and dark. How are you going to deal with it? We have like 2 minutes left in this episode. How are we going to get through that experience? I know. We'll call present day Kirk just to see if he's okay and he actually is from Earth. And then we'll break down into tears and just end the episode with Leon crying because she had a good thing happen to her that she could never experience again. End of episode. And I love the audacity of this show just to go, yeah, we're not ending on a happy note. She saved the day, but she lost the thing that mattered to her the most about the situation. So yes, this all sucks. Everything's bad. She didn't get a happy ending. That is ballsy, and I don't know a bunch of other shows that would do that. And that's really cool. We just walked around Toronto for a bit. It looked great. We visited some local hotspots, you know. Lakeview Cafe or whatever. I'm sure that's something. I'm not near Toronto, so I don't know anything aside from our stupid money and Tim Hortons, which are both prominently featured in this episode. We also get a scene where Kirk drives a car, and you can just tell they're really going for the Chris Pine feel with him. And he's kind of blending the two. You know, Wesley's kind of blending the two of Shatner and Pine. He's just he just looks like he's taller than both of them, and you don't buy it completely. But it's good stuff. It's really fun. A strong standalone episode just about somebody learning to connect with who they are, how they've been, and then there's a kiss. So I can't hate that. Kissing's great and stuff. Not a lot of stuff give us kisses anymore, so it's good. It's fun. Leon's a good character. They did something great with her, and I'm impressed with it. And that is where we're going to end this review. So thank you all for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Live long and prosper.